The Eurozone leaders want the Greek government to prove that they mean business. Obviously, there's been a series of reversals and revisions over the short and long term. How does the Greek government do that?
Well, Victor, it's another one of these whiplash moments that we've seen so many of in the past week. This is going to be a very difficult process. We've been talking about this for days. The last 24 hours have been especially pivotal. And I think what's most concerning here is that the European Union remains essentially an indecisive body. You have solidarity on the one hand, especially pronounced by countries such as France and Italy for the plight of Greece. Then you have the rules-obsessed faction in the north, led by Germany, by Holland, or the Netherlands, by Finland, and those types of countries. And so you have an internal contradiction within the European Union that makes it very difficult for them to come to terms with what is an existential problem within the bloc. And on a larger scale, Victor, if they can't sort out problems regarding one small economy inside the European Union, how is President Obama and how is Washington going to work with the European Union on major issues involving, for instance, Russia, Syria, and Iran?
There are many concerns once you extrapolate from this situation. You have questions about the other world events that the Eurozone and the Eurogroup will have to get involved with. But let's stick to this one. And how long could this process go on?
We have to keep in mind that this is really not about an immediate deal. If the European finance ministers are able to come to agreement on this particular issue, it's simply to enter the next phase, which is to launch negotiations, a process which may take several weeks, if not several months. So this is very, very far away from any type of decisive outcome, but it is critical to overcome this enormous trust deficit that's largely been set by the strategy, the negotiating strategy of the Greek government since this government was elected in January. And in many ways, it's probably incumbent upon Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras to pull this, well, what we like to call a Nixon in China moment, and come from the radical left and sell to his Marxist colleagues the kinds of deep, profound structural reforms that previously were unimaginable in Greece. But the only person that can do that is a Marxist leader in Greece who can go to his people, sell the reforms, begin enacting some of these reforms in the next 24 to 48 hours, and then go to Europe and say, you can trust us, we're making the kinds of changes that you always thought we were never capable of.
But he'll lose the support of the people if he does that, won't he?
I don't believe so. I think the Greeks have been so shocked by events of the last several days. They understand now what it means to collapse into a cashless, semi-barter economy. They understand they really have no choice. It's either this very bad situation or an utterly catastrophic situation going forward that is filled with complete hopelessness and despair. I think he can do this. The other party leaders are willing to work with him. He's going to have to shed some of the more radical members of his coalition, and that seems to be in the offing right now over the next few days. I think in Greece they can make the kinds of changes that are needed to satisfy some of the more recalcitrant European leaders. The problem, though, I think is going to be less in Greece over the next 24 to 48 hours, and whether or not nationalism and factionalism overcome solidarity in the European Union.
All right, so many things to unpack here. John Sitilides, always appreciate the insight.
Thanks for having me.